Okay, remember this is your week 10. A lot of people ask me to make a video, so make sure you turn it into your teacher if you want me to continue making videos. So I'm going to go over week 10's lessons. Okay, number 1 was a ratio problem. It says, what's the ratio of squares to all shapes? So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 squares. So right now you know it's not A or D. And then it says all shapes, so I got to count the squares. So I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So my answer is C, which is 5 to 9. This is a part to whole ratio. Okay, number 2, Tariq owns a guitar store with 150 guitars in stock. He has 90 electric, the rest are acoustic. So first I have to find out how many acoustic. So I got 150 guitars. I'm going to subtract 90. So I know that there are 60 acoustic guitars and 90 electric. So my ratio is going to be 60 to 90. Now I have to simplify that. So I put it in my sled. I said 10 goes into it, since it ends in a 0. And then I put it in my sled, and I said 3 will go into it. So my answer is 2 to 3. Okay, number 3, it says the ratio of gray circles to black circles. So I'm going to count up gray. 1, 2, 3, 4 gray circles. And then I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 black circles. So my ratio of gray to black is 4 to 5. Okay, number 4 is asking you what percent of the grid is shaded. So I know I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 8 times 7 is 56 plus 1, 2, 3, 4. 56 plus 4. Let me start over here. 56 plus 4 is 60. So my answer is C, 60. Remember, this was out of 100. So 60 shaded out of 100. So that's why it's 60%. Okay, number 5, you're multiplying decimals. I do not have to line it up. I'm just going to multiply. 8 times 1 is 8. 8 times 3 is 24. 0. 0 times 1 is 0. 0 times 3 is 0. I'm going to add. Now I'm going to look at, I got 1 digit behind the decimal, 2, so I move my decimal 2 places to the left, so my answer is 2 48/100. Okay, number 6, you're dividing fractions. Remember your KCF. Keep the first fraction, the 4/7, change division to multiplication, and take the reciprocal of the second. Now I'm just going to multiply, and I'm going to get 8 over 21. 8 21st. I'm adding fractions. They don't have the same denominator. So in order to find one, I put it in my sled, and I said 2 goes into 6, 3 times 2. I'm finding the least common multiple. 2 times 3 is 6, times 2 is 12. So that's going to tell me what my denominator is going to be. Now I'm going to say 6 times 2 is 12. 4 times 2 is 8. I'm going to say 4 times 3 is 12. 3 times 3 is 9. Now that I have the same denominator, I'm going to get 17 twelfths. 17 twelfths is improper, so I divide it out. And I'm going to get 1 5 twelfths. Okay, number 8, again, I'm adding unlike fractions without a common denominator. The only thing that's going to go into 5 and 7 is 1. So when I multiply, I get 35 as my common denominator. Now I say 5 times 7 is 35. 2 times 7 is 14. 7 times 5 is 35. 5 times 7 is 30. Now I can add the 2, and I get 44 over 35. Improper fraction. I divide, and I get 1 9/35 as my answer. Okay, number 9, Jenny makes 5 loaves of bread that have 1/4 cup of oil in each. I'm asking you how many cups were used, so 5 over 1 times 1 over 4. I don't need a common denominator, so I say 5/4, which is improper, so I divide. 4 will go into 5 one time, so my answer is 1 1/4, which is C. Okay, number 11, Melissa earned $17 for 2 hours walking her dog last week. She walked dog for 8 hours. How much money did she make? So I'm comparing money over hours, money over hours. So I know $17 in 2 hours. I want to know how much she made in 8 hours. So I'm going to cross multiply. I'm going to say 17 times 8, which is 136. 136 divided by 2 is 68. Your answer should be $68. Okay, number 12, the ratio, write the ratio as a unit rate, miles to hours. So this time miles over hours is equal to miles over hours. So I know it's 150 miles in 2.5 hours. And since it's a unit rate, I want to find out how many in 1 hour. I'm going to cross multiply. 150 times 1 is 150. Divide by 2.5, and that will give me 60. So my answer is B, 60 miles per hour. Okay, number 13, Kevin threw the ball 19 and 23 yards. Scott threw the football 23 and 1/3 yards. Which statement is true? Well, first of all, Scott threw the ball farther, so we know it cannot be A or C. Now I'm going to find out how much farther, so I'm going to subtract. Now I cannot take 2/3 from 1/3, so I have to borrow. That's going to be 23 and 3/3. 23 and 3/3 is still equal to 24, but now I can add my fractions. So I can say 23 3/3 plus 1/3 is 4/3 minus 19 and 2/3. Now I can go ahead and subtract. 4/3 minus 2/3 is 2/3. 23 minus 19 is 4. So my answer is B, 4 2/3. Okay. Number 15, again, you're subtracting decimals. I would go ahead and put my decimal point at the end of 30. When I'm subtracting, I line it up. So I'm going to add some zeros here. Okay, now as I'm listening to some music, 0 minus 6 I cannot do, cannot borrow. That becomes a 2 and a 10. Now I cannot borrow, that becomes a 9, 10. 9, 10. Now I can subtract. 10 minus 6 is 4. 9 minus 4 is 5. Bring your decimal down. 9 minus 9 is 0. And I don't need the other 0, so my answer is 0 and 54 hundredths. Kind of went out of order here. I forgot about number 14. It says write the phrase as a verbal expression using X to represent a number. So a number is going to be X. It says 14 subtracted from. So first I have to find out a number, X, and I'm going to subtract 14 from it. So my answer is D, X minus 14. Okay, again, I'm adding decimals, so I need to line up my decimal point. I'm going to add a 0, and since I'm adding, I just go straight down. So I got 6, 14, 12, bring your decimal. So my answer is 2 and 246 thousandths. Make sure you turn this into your teacher.